Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. Today is February 21st, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 52. Today we declare the future is fungal. Italian toothpaste. Mysterious sci-fi movie. Say cheese recall. Early diabetes test. Just the tip. Music labels are still suing the internet. Court blocks $1 billion copyright ruling, and AI copyright will doom us all. And the tiniest apartment in Manhattan. That and more. Hello, hello, I am Mayor Watt, that is ohmTown.com, and up there is the visualizer for the sentient AI. You want to say hi?
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
I want to thank Dunkstar for giving a shout out to their community. Dunkstar, DUNCSTAR, over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dunkstar. And their co-host, Timeless, is Timeless_EXE. Great community. Thank you for giving a shout out to your community and sending people over to mine. Really do appreciate it. We have kind of different communities, so they, well, they're a lot of fun and play computer games and talk about all kinds of things. Whereas we talk about news primarily. We also break up the show so that we have actually 3 different shows currently, and we're going to be adding 2 more. So ohmTown Daily News Show is, like its title says, a daily news show, where we talk about a composite of everything that's over on ohmTown.com. But we also have Reality Hacker, which focuses on AR and VR, mixed reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, deep fakes, basically computer manipulation, and the Continuity Report, which talks about streaming, TV, and movies. That's our focus for that one. And we're going to be launching 2 new ones this coming weekend. Wanted, which is a tech gadget show, and Technology Today, which is a more focused, deeper into the discussion regarding technology show. Still 10 news articles, but all of them have their little niche areas, and they're all going to become podcasts in their own right. 3 of which, ohmTown Daily News Show, Continuity Report, and Reality Hacker, are already available as a podcast under the ohmTown umbrella over on Apple Podcasts and wherever you pick up your pods with your podcatcher. Don't forget, go over to YouTube and all of that kind of stuff too. Okay, enough of that. Let's get into the news and go from there. The very first article for today is "The Future is Fungal. New research finds that fungi that live in healthy plants are sensitive to climate change. So spruce, pine, fir, and other trees tower across the frigid swaths of land that span North America, Northern Europe, and Russia in a great ring around the world." Ring around the world? Ring around the rosy kind of a thing. These boreal forests constitute the largest land ecosystem and the northernmost forests on Earth. And apparently they are, I don't have an ad blocker. So Michaela Mace Kelly over at University of Arizona put the article together. And they say, nestled within the photosynthetic or light-eating tissue of the boreal trees and within the bountiful cloud-like lichens and feathery mosses that carpet the ground, between them are fungi. These fungi are endophytes, meaning that they live within plants, often in a mutually beneficial arrangement. To be a plant is to live in a fungal world, said Betsy Arnold, a professor at the School of Plant Sciences at the College of Agriculture, Life and Environmental Sciences, and the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology in the College of Science, and a member of the Bio5 Institute, which I've not heard of.
It's quite the business card.
That is, the name plaque runs into the other office. Endophytic fungi are vital to the health of plants in ways that aren't yet totally understood, but we do know from the endophytes in general is that they're very good at protecting plants against disease and helping plants be more resilient to environmental stressors like heat. They've been part of an important revolution in our thinking about plants. This is interesting because I come from an era of science where I don't think this was actually discussed or taught, that endophytic or fungi was integrated into the biomass of trees in such a way that it's protective and helps plants and defends against stressors like heat. It doesn't ring a bell to me. So obviously science has been advancing and doing its science-y thing, evolving our understanding of the world. So they say over a decade ago, Arnold and her team set out in a month-long adventure deep into the wilderness in northeastern Canada to understand how the fungal species adapted across different microenvironments and how they might fare in future climate change. And I guess they found out that that's exactly what happens. They are reacting to basically changes in the planet's carbon and water cycles. So, and our work highlights that they are home to some of the most evolutionarily diverse fungal endophytes in the world, endophytes that are found nowhere else.
So do you think this is like a leading indicator of what's happening?
Well, I don't know if they actually refer to it as that, but let's find out, because I mean, they're saying that they're flying out to places and grabbing samples. Arnold thinks that the special climate dependence of these fungal endophytes reflects a process of co-evolution with their hosts, or research and development, as she puts it. As plants find the ideal endophyte partner and flourish despite the distinctive stresses that plants face in these harsh northern landscapes. I think that they are basically documenting what's going on, but they don't necessarily know how it's going to impact or be impacted by climate change. They just know that they're all over the place, and so studying the fungi may return some type of understanding of the impact of climate change across a swath of ecosystems. It says to document biodiversity in our changing world is essential research. The specimens we collected are deposited in herbaria. I don't think that's a country, and therefore have lasting value to understand how species, their distributions, their genes, and their ecosystems they inhabit change over time. In turn, the best way for herbaria to serve the scientific community is by being integrated with research labs and world-class universities. So it's almost like a pitch to try and set up a broader research foundation.
Well, fungi are probably not the big draw, right? Somebody wants to study like large mammals or well-known trees or whatever it is.
I don't know. The Egon from the Ghostbusters studied spores, molds, and fungus. So
that is true.
I don't know. You can be a Ghostbuster anytime you want to. All you have to do is go to any university that does fundamental research and then pitch to get a grant.
He was cool before it was trendy.
That's right. Who are you gonna call? Apparently, let me scroll up. Who are you gonna call? University of Arizona, and maybe Betsy Arnold. Who are you gonna call Betsy Arnold? There you go. Come and check out my fungi. I'm just gonna move on. The next article is over in the Marble channel. This cult favorite Italian toothpaste tastes like a fancy cocktail. Don't tell my dentist, but I hate brushing my teeth. I think a lot of people hate brushing their teeth. They brush twice a day.
I don't think anybody really strives to do it, right? They just need to do it.
Yeah, and you really do. I mean, if you talk to anybody in any field, they're the hammer and all they see are nails. So, but when you go and talk to your doctor, your dentist, they will tell you, you know, everything that makes you basically is in your mouth or goes through your mouth. And so your dental health is very, very important. Now, I don't know if you want to run around and tell your doctor that this fancy Italian toothpaste is actually tastes like a fancy cocktail. That's what this actually is titled. This cult fave Italian toothpaste tastes like a fancy cocktail. So they say that they brush twice a day because oral hygiene is important, but they consider it a chore, although they found a toothbrush that makes the experience more tolerable. Typical drugstore toothpaste still irritates their mouth. Maybe they're a big baby is what they basically claim, but the strong mint flavor makes their eyes water. Wow.
That's a strong reaction.
Yes. I mean, that old school Listerine does that, but not even modern Listerine makes your eyes water. Huh. So they try to avoid unsolicited, uncontrollable crying, so finding a toothpaste that offered a milder flavor became a crucial step in fixing their brushing routine. Get children's toothpaste. It has like
there you go, or any other flavor other than mint, right? Yes.
And it's just as effective as the adult toothpaste, for crying out loud. Otherwise, they wouldn't be selling it to children. Well, they don't sell it to children. Whatever. Anyway, the Vice.com.
Kids are lining up at the store to buy toothpaste.
Yeah. In the playground, they're selling it, you know.
On the black market.
Yes. On the playground, the bleacher market. Yeah, by the bathrooms. Nicoletta Cardi over at Vice.com put the article together. They made the switch to Marvis toothpaste, and its subtly spicy ginger mint flavor tastes like La Dolce Vita. I'm sorry, spicy ginger mint? That does not sound refreshing.
In fact, that sounds more eye-watering than mint.
Yeah, particularly the spicy ginger part of it. Ginger. Weird. I'm sorry. The dead silence is me trying to wrap my head around, like, ginger, the stuff that you have on the side with sushi.
Right, and some people don't like ginger flavor to begin with, so this is really odd.
The only time I really like ginger, I don't even eat it with sushi, but like gingerbread, maybe. And even then, if it's too strong, I don't even like that. Ginger is really harsh. I don't know. Let's see. So, where do they go from here? They weren't planning on shopping for fancy toothpaste, but when they became fed up with tearing mid-brush, they basically said no more crust. Looked for a cult fave called Marvis. Now, this website kind of sells you on the various products that they talk about. So there's jasmine mint toothpaste from Marvis, cinnamon mint toothpaste. That one might be actually really good, but then you end up just eating your toothpaste.
Right, but it could still be really harsh. Like cinnamon can be kind of overpowering.
Yeah, and classic. And then ginger mint they have. I don't know. It seems... Might have to just get a set and try them all. No. There's one that's black. Do you think that's licorice? Like black licorice?
Oh my goodness. I don't know why anybody would want licorice toothpaste.
Yeah, so they say their first thought when looking at the toothpaste was that the packaging looks incredibly stylish. Very slim, sleek, metallic silver tube that features a regal-looking logo. They're a sucker for aesthetics, so there was no doubt that they were going to get thrown into their Amazon cart. So I guess you can just get them from Amazon. By the way, the links that they have are Amazon, whatchamacallit links. Affiliate
links.
Yeah. So they say, why do they love it? Brushing with Marvis toothpaste has been nothing but a pure delight. The ginger mint flavor profile is a mild mint paired with a subtle, extremely pleasant spice of ginger. That's refreshing to wake up to. My God, I'm being sold on ginger mint. I wish I was kidding. I might actually end up throwing this into my Amazon. Am I gonna click that? Fight the urge, Merwatt. You're all, that $36 over at Amazon is blowing the mayoral mansion's budget right out of the gate. Anyway, the major differences they notice compared to typical toothpaste is that it doesn't foam as much and it's a slightly thicker, more pure, more paste-like texture. A little goes a long way. I've noticed that with non like wildly name brand stuff or medical, like the stuff that's prescribed to you by a dentist. It is usually thicker and more paste-like, whereas the toothpaste that you seem to buy just kind of foams up a lot. And by the time you're done brushing a quadrant of your mouth, you look like you've got rabies and you're going to go and chase somebody out of the bathroom.
Wow.
Maybe. Oh, that's kind of funny. There's a TLDR, which is really hilarious because the sentient AI told me a story about how somebody didn't know in a meeting that somebody didn't know what TLDR was and then used LOL as a response once they found out what TLDR was. So how out of the loop were you that you know LOL but you don't know TLDR? You almost learn it one and the same, you know. That's pretty awesome though. It was funny. No harm, no foul. It wasn't like, you know, we judge people based off of their
Lack of internet savvy or whatever.
Exactly. So they say that Marvis toothpaste makes their brushing routine not just much more bearable these days, but downright pleasant. So on you go. Then they talk about the Philips Sonicare 5100. At some point, you're basically just getting professional cleaning all the time because you've been spending so much money on various gadgets, doodads, and whatevers.
Right. I guess the question is whether you're going to actually use them or they're just going to collect dust.
Yeah. Like a treadmill that gets installed and the installers say, this is going to make a wonderful coat rack. Don't judge me before I even do it.
Or next don't do it.
Don't do it and do it because I won't be running. I only run when chased, and I do need to find a place for my coat. So the next article's over in the continuity report. Parasite director's mysterious sci-fi movie with Robert Pattinson gets new 2025 release date. Apparently it's called Mickey 17, so not so mysterious. Bong Joon-ho's science fiction film Mickey 17 has a new release date as the director's first film since the critically acclaimed Parasite, which won Best Picture in the 92nd Academy Awards. Mickey 17 has been highly anticipated. It's also a star-studded cast, including Robert Pattinson, Stephen Yeun, Naomi Ackie, Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo.
It seems like a pretty significant cast.
Due to production delays from the strikes in 2023, it was originally scheduled to be released on March 29th, 2024, before being pulled from the release calendar. What's really interesting about this is today I had a conversation with someone regarding the strikes because AI was one of the big impactors on this strike. Basically, people were being told that they were getting paid for 1 gig, but their entire likeness was included in the contract that allowed a studio to basically just use their likeness in perpetuity. And it was astonishing that anybody would possibly be able to make that possible. But apparently, that's how some of the contracts were actually constructed. And herein lies the rub with this. I think it's asinine that the studio can benefit from the contract and the change in technology enabling this extension, but it doesn't provoke an immediate renegotiation of the specifics of the contract when there is some new technology. You know, nobody knew that that AI technology was going to come in like a wrecking ball and take over. but they benefited from it.
Maybe Miley Cyrus did.
Miley Cyrus knew everything. She knows more than anybody knows. Matthew Ruddy, I think it's Roddy, over at ScreenRant.com put this article together. Mickey 17, the deck statement says Mickey 17, the upcoming science fiction movie helmed by Parasite director Bong Joon-ho and starring Robert Pattinson, now has a 2025 release date. I haven't seen an IMAX theater movie in so long. I want to go and see an IMAX theater movie. Fans can look forward to experiencing Mickey 17 in IMAX theaters, as confirmed by Warner Brothers Pictures. It's the theater that wraps around you. It's very immersive.
Have you ever seen like a regular movie there, or only like a documentary?
I've seen movies and I've seen documentaries in IMAX theaters, but not recently. Not in the last, I'd say, 10 plus years. But actually, probably longer than that, probably 15 years. And it's mainly because I find no need to go, but I am still in awe of that type of experience. It's basically, IMAX theaters are basically mini Las Vegas spheres. You know, you get in it, you sit down, and it wraps around you like 170 degrees or something like that. And it's just immersive. You really enjoy that kind of a thing. So, according to Warner Brothers Pictures, Mickey 17 will now be released in theaters on January 31st, 2025. So pushed it a little bit further, but not, mind-bogglingly far into the future. It's also been confirmed that the film will be available in IMAX theaters. In Mickey 17's place, Warner Brothers has slated Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire. I think the X is supposed to be Godzilla and Kong, the new Empire.
Or by, or, like with, a crossover or something. Yeah,
both. The next installment of the Monsterverse in a theatrical release on March 29th. I'm not too into all of that.
I don't think I've seen Parasite, but I know that's a real hit. So that's interesting that it's by the person who made Parasite.
I think it's also along the lines of the type of reception that you get from like Get Out. Like somebody comes out of nowhere and is just crushing it from that point forward. And so when this is in a different genre, you might go, wait, that's in a completely different genre, but just give them a chance and see. I bet you it's going to be spectacular. Because Parasite got amazing acclaim. So, there's probably not that much risk. Now, if they wet the bed, then who knows? So in January 2025, Mickey 17 will stand out more as a visually dazzling science fiction film and one of the first big movies of the year. The only other major theatrical release currently scheduled for January 2025 is Paddington in Peru, set for January 17th. I guess my bias is kind of seeping through. I'm not really into Paddington, so.
I mean, what do you have against bears?
Show me on the no. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that are in it that we've already mentioned. It says while the threequel is expected to do well, its family-friendly focus will not conflict with the darker science fiction elements of Mickey 17, which tells the story of an expendable human employee named Mickey Barnes, sent to help colonize an ice planet with multiple iterations of Mickey dying and new bodies needing to be generated. So this is a coming of age movie in space.
That's a lot of layers.
Wait, let me do it again. Hold on. It's a coming of age, middle life crisis, coming to accept your demise, coming of age, midlife crisis, meeting your demise, coming of it. Okay, I'll stop. Anyway, the new release date also ensures the that time can be taken to ensure that Mickey 17 is a project worthy of Bong's stellar direction. Given the long wait since Parasite's release in 2019, it would be disappointing for the director's follow-up film to not be the same quality. Are they saying, though, that it hasn't even filmed? Why does it sound like it's January 2025 is 9 months away?
Right, that's not that far in movie making.
10 months, roughly. Well, I mean, 9 months away. On the other side of 9 months is January 2025.
But maybe nobody's seen it. It's not so much that it's not in the works.
Yeah, maybe it's all filmed up, but they're editing it? Huh. All right. Well, anyway, this will be interesting. There's more over here at the Screen Rant article, so follow the link through ohmTown. We just kind of add our own little perspective of this, but we don't go over the whole article with you. Go over and check it out, glean something from it, and then come back tomorrow and say, you know what I found out about this Parasite directed new movie, Mickey 17? Be great to hear from you. See you in a little bit. Let's go on to the next article. This next article is in ohmTown Daily. A cheese recall list shows states under listeria warning. So quite the switch, but still a horror movie. A map shows the states with cases tied to the ongoing deadly listeria outbreak that sparked recall alerts across the United States. This is still going.
Wait, was this filmed by the same director that did Parasite?
Yes. Literally. Parasite. Although it's not a parasite. But so Maura Zurich over at Newsweek.com put this article together. Earlier this month, nearly 60 food items containing queso fresco and cotija cheeses manufactured by Rizzo Lopez Foods of Modesto, California, were recalled over fears they may have been contaminated with the potentially deadly bacteria, according to a health alert issued by the Food and Drug Administration. A new map shows where the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have been marking this ongoing outbreak that has been linked to 26 reported cases of illness across the U.S. At the moment, there have been 23 hospitalizations and 2 deaths across 11 states.
That's kind of significant, especially for a relatively new outbreak.
This is amazing. So they talk about Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, Oregon, Tennessee, Texas, and Washington. This is basically the bowl of the United States. Pretty wild. How Colorado is in there like, hey.
It's what happens when you have major distribution channels, right? And kind of constrained supply chains.
Yeah. So the list is quite expansive. Okay. Rizzo Lopez provided the FDA with a 24-page list of hundreds of retail establishments that receive the company's dairy products. And they give another list of states and then a big block of cheese. I mean, food companies, the recalled dairy products and goods made with them are sold under a whole host of brand names.
Well, that's right, because I saw that it was things like salads that have cheese in it. I mean, you think about everything that cheese could appear in.
So these are the states right now, from all of the West Coast all the way across the bottom of the United States. Yeah, Colorado was the one like really standout because it's like further up, but it is the link. I'm surprised that there's a gap here between Louisiana and
right. How did it jump over there?
Yeah, so how did it? It must have jumped over to Tennessee because that's the nearest one, or Florida. But I think it's really interesting.
Remember too, with food related issues, they don't always catch it because it doesn't always get reported.
Right. So maybe it is more prolific. It just hasn't popped up. California has been crushed though. 8 people sick. And you might think, oh, you're kind of overstating this. It isn't that much. But again, not all of them get reported. And you think that you, like, for instance, I think that I got sick from one of the recalls. Um, and then we went and had dinner there again, and another person in ohmTown got sick. And so, but it wasn't so bad that we ended up in a hospital or anything, but still it manifested. So, and that person had no idea that there was anything hinky, possibly hinky. So the CDC said that recent illnesses may not be reported, as it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks to determine if a person is sick and is part of an outbreak. Listeriosis, the infection caused by bacteria, the Listerio monocytogenes, can cause numerous symptoms like fever, muscle aches, headache, stiff neck, confusion, loss of balance, convulsions. That's on the far side. But normally you have gastrointestinal
gastroenteritis or gastrointestinal issues.
Yeah, issues, gastrointestinal issues. Kind of saying gastro too much. Anyway, it depending on if you are pregnant or if you're immunocompromised, it can be dramatically worse. So if you feel that you have eaten some of this cheese, go and look. Find out if you've imbibed any of this stuff, and if you have, and you're not feeling well, go see a doctor and get checked. Now they can give you certain things, but it's really just easing your suffering for a while until your body expels the bacteria. Okay, let's keep going though. Wow. We had been talking about that for a little while now. Technology today is where the next article is. Scientists develop simple and cost-effective early diabetes test. I thought this one was really interesting. Diabetes is a massive problem in the United States, so much so that people are taking Wegovy and other weight loss and diabetes-related medications to try and stem the tide of diabetes acquisition, because you can get type 2 diabetes simply by gaining too much weight, eating too many sweets. Your body kind of goes into shock, I guess, and so it doesn't have the ability to deal with it anymore, and so you end up having to take other medications and whatnot. But you can
right,
take
and it's a lot easier to prevent it than to try to treat it.
Yeah, once you are flagged as having diabetes, it's very tough to pull yourself away from it for some reason. And it's really weird because, like, you can have a high blood sugar for a sustained period of time, and it's treated as basically you're borderline diabetic,
like pre-diabetes.
Yeah, but it's depending on where you go, the doctors basically say, oh no, if you're pre-diabetes, then you're diabetes. But your treatment is different. You don't actually have to take anything if you're pre-diabetes. You just have to stop being a dumbass. But
stop eating Cheetos or whatever.
Yeah, sugar. Carbs, lose weight, work out, go for walks. But the problem there is not everybody's genetics are aligned with that a lower number easily. You have to work a whole lot harder. So we're basically in the United States chronically overweight, obese, and we're taking medication. Well, diabetes frequently goes unnoticed until it has caused organ or nerve damage, partly because early stage diagnosis is challenging and time consuming. So some researchers have discovered a way to do a simple, cost effective early diabetes test. It's from Rohr University Bochum. And the article is over at scitechdaily.com. They don't have a person, by the way. It's just from the university. It's almost like a press release. An international team of researchers headed by Associate Professor Dr. Johann Dietrich from the Department of Medicine. And I don't know if that's I or one.
One, maybe?
Of Ruhr University Bochum at St. Joseph Hospital in Bochum, Germany. has shown that a mathematical calculation based on just 2 values taken from a blood sample enables the reliable and inexpensive diagnosis of diabetes at an early stage. The researchers recently published their findings in the Journal of Diabetes. Together
I would
with
have
this,
expected them to publish it in like the Journal of
sugar.
Thank you, or something else.
The Journal
It's
of
very
Fat
specific if it's the
is
Journal of
Flavor.
Diabetes.
Yeah, the Journal of Automotive Design. I don't know. So it's partly due to the fact that this is not easy to detect at an early stage. Diabetes sets in gradually, and our diagnostic options are not sensitive enough to detect it. Moreover, they aren't specific enough, meaning that false positives can occur. And what's really interesting is when I first heard this article, heard about the article, and I read just a little bit of that snippet, they say simple and cost effective. And whenever I hear that, I go, the fidelity is going to be low. It's going to be an either on or off switch. But they actually draw attention to that, and they say, moreover, they aren't specific enough, meaning that false positives can also occur. So they are very aware, they're acutely aware of it, that diabetes is this gradual thing and the options aren't sensitive enough, so they've come up with a more sensitive way. The method called Spina Carb is based on mathematical modeling. All that's required is a simple blood sample, which is taken in the morning before the patients have their breakfast, which is actually pretty typical. You want to fast before you get a blood sugar test,
Right.
diabetes test.
You don't want to eat a sugar cookie or something right before that.
Yeah, you just start pounding down chocolate and then you go in. It's what I do. I eat Oreos before I go in to get my teeth cleaned too.
I'm sure the dentist appreciates that.
I've described it as job security for them. So they block out 2 sessions instead of 1, and yeah.
Did they hand you Marvis toothpaste?
Yeah, the licorice flavor one, because they know that I really don't like licorice. I mean, I like red vines, but I don't like black licorice. I don't know. There's something about it. What is the stuff? What is black licorice? The
anise.
Anise, yeah, anise is like. We enter these values into an equation that describes the body's control loop for sugar metabolism. Break it down according to a certain variable, explains Johannes Dietrich. The result is so-called static disposition index, or Spina die, or D. I don't know. So a weird name, but anyway. So it's the insulin value and the glucose value. Those are the 2 measures. In the computer simulations, the research team proved that the new parameter confirms the theory of dynamical compensation, which predicts that insulin resistance in people with metabolic syndrome is compensated for by the pancreatic beta cells increasing their activity. A subsequent study of the 3 groups of volunteers in the US, Germany, and India supported this assumption. So I would love to do this. I regularly get blood work done because I'm really interested in augmenting or minimizing food consumption and utilizing supplements, exercise, getting the data to find out, do you really need to eat X number of calories, or can you augment it with supplements? But one of the things that has always been eluding my doctor and I is what is truly affecting my blood glucose level, because it's been static regardless of what I'm doing. It's the same damn number. And the only way it actually wavers, and even then it doesn't reduce dramatically, is me nixing all sugar, like all sugar. And even then, it's not wildly low. It doesn't change that much. So I would really like to know what this pumps out as a result. So if you're curious about this, the research paper is in the Journal of Diabetes, but it's titled A Novel Simple Disposition Index from Fasting Insulin and Glucose Concentration as a Robust Measure of Carbohydrate Homeostasis by Johann et al. Johann Dietrich et al. There are about 8 people that are involved in this.
Well, I was going to say that definitely distinguishes between the other non-Johans.
Excuse me, who is et? So I think that it's really fascinating, but a simple mathematical formula, I'm really curious about what this is, because it's almost impossible to commercialize this. So I'm really wondering, like, what all is actually involved in this. It's almost something
too good to be true, almost, right? Because it's like, okay, what is a company going to do with this?
Yeah, this is so simple. It's almost indefensible in terms of not giving it to everybody. But I guess if the calculation shows out, it's a business model. Okay, let's just keep going though. I'm getting a little absurd about that because I just don't know enough. It's as simple as taking 2 numbers from a blood sample and throwing it into a calculator.
Right, which seems like there's going to be an app or something for it, right? But you still have to get the blood drawn.
Yeah, that's true. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. A server in Michigan who got part of a $10,000 tip from a morning customer says that she was fired by the restaurant just days later. This is a complex issue because the person I know about, I heard about this, and I know that the claim is that they were fired for other reasons, is what the manager says. But I'm sorry. What are the other reasons? It just seems like there's a little bit of scumbaggery here. So here's what happened. A grieving diner who was honoring their friend who met their demise donated left a $10,000 tip with the statement to divide it up amongst the servers.
In fact, that was in the news when that was, I don't know if it made ohmTown, but I did see that.
It was in ohmTown over several days. I don't think that we talked about it, but I'm not sure. But what was interesting about it was that it was all great goodwill, right? The anonymous diner gave a $10,000 tip on a $32 meal to a cafe in Michigan. 8 days later, the employee who did I say the title of this thing? I don't know.
I'm not sure, but you haven't moved over to the article yet.
Yeah, let me reiterate this. So, a server in Michigan who got part of a $10,000 tip from a morning customer says she was fired by the restaurant just days later, 8 days to be specific. So the diner left a $10,000 tip. They were going to split it across everybody, all of the servers, except that the kitchen crew found out about it and said that they wanted some of it. Right? So let's go.
But I'm still like, how does that translate into somebody getting fired?
Right. So here's how this translates into somebody getting fired. The Mason Jar Cafe in Benton Harbor, Western Michigan, who is now suffering from the Streisand effect for basically douchebaggery. The response basically was they were being fired because a dispute amongst the staff who got some of the money was brought to the attention of the owner of the place, and she wouldn't cough up the names of the people from the kitchen crew who were complaining about not getting a piece of that action. And so 8 days later, doink, right? Splitting the tip, however, led to a conflict among the cafe's workers. Jennifer McManus, an attorney for server Lindsay Huff, who was the member of the staff the diner gave the tip to, told The Guardian that kitchen staff also wanted a share of the tip and became upset. Huff also goes by the name Boyd. So Lindsay Huff is Boyd. McManus said that when Huff told the cafe's managers that the kitchen staff were annoyed with how the tip had been distributed, they asked her to name the workers, which I think is douchebaggery. After Huff refused, the cafe fired her, but the owner says that they were fired for other reasons. Really? In this particular situation, I think that you would probably say to Huff, hey, we need to disclose why you were fired, and that it wasn't for you not telling us who was pissed off. So Mason Jar co-owner Jamie Cousins confirmed to local TV Channel 8 News that the employee had been fired and that it was an unrelated issue to the tip, and purely a business decision. All right.
That seems kind of weird.
So in the fallout, Cousins and her husband, and Cousins is the co-owner. So Cousins and her husband, Abel Martinez, also posted a Facebook status about the termination, which was flooded with comments about the events, which many of which were negative. And then they deleted the Huff has since deleted her Facebook post about the dismissal because McManus apparently said if you don't, you're gonna end up in a lawsuit. That was the cafe. McManus is the said that members of the cafe's management called Huff and told her that the Mason Jar would file a lawsuit against her if she didn't remove the post. You should be able, and you are. That actually violates what is it called? The National Labor Board Relations Board, NLRB. Because you're basically responding to their firing with a lawsuit, but I have the ability to talk about my termination.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like an EEO issue. I don't know that she was a union worker or whatever, but yeah, it's definitely like it has a chilling effect, right? Because it's like, hey, don't talk about what actually happened here.
Right. If this was actually documented in an email or something like that, that right there is a lawsuit on top of the termination.
I don't think it was. I think they called her, which that's a whole other
additional
level of
scumbaggery.
Problem. Yeah.
you know how you want to hide something? You say, call me. You know what, you little scumbag? I'm going to record what you say, just like I'm recording this show. You know, if you want to say something to me, then you get on the air and you say something to me. I mean, obviously you can post it in chat too, but this is
but only if it's respectful.
I'll delete it if it's offensive. I mean, yeah, to a degree. But I think, you know, maybe there's actually some cause of action between them because of whatever, right? They were terminated with cause or whatever. But a $10,000.
For example, they could have stolen. I'm just making something up. I'm not saying the person did it, but they could have stolen money from the cafe or something. The timing, though, looks really wonky because, right, the massive tip.
Yeah.
Then she's reporting that other people are complaining about it, and then she gets fired. If anything else, the other workers should be the ones who get fired. I'm not saying that warrants it, but
yeah. How about nobody gets fired? If somebody's complaining about not getting a tip, be a better manager, for crying out loud. Hey, you know what? That tip was earmarked for servers, not for the kitchen crew. If the group of servers want to sit there and take their $10,000 tip, which let's say there were 5 servers, everybody would get $2,000. Then you talk about the kitchen crew, it gets diluted to $1,000.
I mean, I can see why they didn't want to share it. It's not being rude. It's like you're not going to have any bonus left or tip left at the end of this.
Yeah. And it's a tip. So you still have to declare it and you still have to pay taxes on it. And at that level, I mean, let's say you get $2,000, you're going to have to pay 35% of that as a tip, as taxes. And the real pisser is if the person who donated left the $10,000 tip is listening to all of this, they're going to be sitting there going, "Oh my God, my act in honor of my friend who died is being used as leverage to fire somebody, and a bunch of people are bitching about it. I mean, you're really inconsiderate. The kitchen crew is inconsiderate and greedy. It was earmarked for the service, for the wait staff, for the servers, and should have gone to the servers. That's what the...
So what's the takeaway here if you're leaving a ridiculously large tip?
Give it directly to one person and tell them not to say a damn thing to anybody.
Exactly. Or if you really want to give tips to a lot of people, you give them directly to all of those people. You don't have somebody responsible to share it with other people.
Hell,
but the other takeaway is don't give a large tip, which is the wrong takeaway.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that is the wrong.
But that seems like what people are going to read this as. Like, well, I'm not getting involved in this kind of controversy.
Yeah, that's what really sucks is we can't have nice things because there are people that want to take a bigger bite of an apple. That was never intended for them. It was intended for somebody else entirely. But whatever. All right. Yeah, let's go on to the next article. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. These next two are actually tied together, but subtly different. ohmTown Daily is where this one is housed. The music labels are still suing the internet companies. That's a warning for the AI industry. The next three are actually kind of tied together. Big AI companies like OpenAI face lawsuits from content owners such as the New York Times. Cox Communications won an appeal to overturn a $1 billion verdict for failing to curb piracy. The current legal battles over intellectual property and generative AI could last for decades. This article is over at Business Insider. Peter Kafka is the author. They have a picture of a robot with a gavel. I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
So this almost looks like a composite article when you look at it. But they basically start out saying the AI boom has been accompanied by AI lawsuits filed by content owners like the New York Times against big AI companies like OpenAI. Led a lot of people to think about the parallels between the current moment and the Napster era, which if you haven't, 20 years worth of people.
With the Napster era is the character from Italian Job that insists on being called Napster.
This is the saddest part of this is no, I can't even say it out loud. Anyway, it's too real to say it out loud. All right, so if you're thinking about what kind of thing about that kind of thing right now, here's a story to chew on via Reuters. And they talk about the $1 billion verdict that was leveraged against an internet service provider, which actually has safe harbor and can only do certain actions. They can't just arbitrarily kick people off for perceived slights against some intellectual property holder. But we'll get to that. So in the present tense, case about digital piracy, something the tech and media companies spent a lot of time debating back in the 2000s and early 2010s. That was when we had lawsuits like Metallica v. Napster, or MGM v. Grokster, or Arista v. Lime Group, which was part of the music distribution software LimeWire that allowed for sharing of MP3s and such. When Congress proposed laws like PIPA and SOPA, I actually used to give a talk about this because there's a lot of these digital freedom fighters who think that piracy doesn't really harm anybody because nobody's losing anything, because the distribution of digital media is essentially resource free and doesn't prevent anyone from getting, you're not taking it away from somebody to give it to somebody else, so it's not really theft. But for every $2 song you distribute, that's $2 taken off of somebody else's table, thus them not having that $2 to buy food or pay their mortgage or buy clothes. They did the work.
And it's multiples, right?
Yeah,
if you send it to multiple people that might have purchased it.
Yeah, and millions of people are downloading movies, music, books, even photographs, pretty much anything that might have intellectual property or appreciation by a group of people, where money should be exchanging hands, or a barter system in place where if you like, then you pay, or you give, or you do, or whatever. But it's kind for kind. And for the most part, I agree that digital media is ultimately infinitely distributable, but the ethics and the morals of this is that you don't take for free something that you enjoy, something that you want. You compensate the people, the creators, right?
And if
Um,
there's something that has a price tag on it,
right,
if you're getting it for free, you're not compensating somebody.
right,
Even if it's a digital product, right? It doesn't have to be tangible.
right. And there's certain use cases where I say, look, you should be able to sit there and discuss the music. You should be able to sit there and discuss the movie.
Or watch the movie on your own device or whatever. You're not sending it to somebody else.
Right.
Like if you already own it.
Yep. So it says, turns out things are not so settled. The music labels are still arguing successfully, apparently, that broadband companies can be held liable for bad behavior enabled by their broadband. All of which is a reminder that the current legal fights about intellectual property and generative AI could last a very, very long time. Because a lot of people are now arguing that everything that generative AI is outputting is uh, an approximate use of everybody else's artwork. And you just have to find the person that's actually being victimized by the AI. So they say what that means is another question. Will the overhang of liability prevent the open AIs of the world from moving as fast as they'd like? Or is it a signal to move fast, break things, not worry about it, and when the legal reckoning does happen, it be too late? You'll have your millions or billions and so on. So I thought this was an interesting perspective of this, but you'll have to, if you want to read more about this, follow the link. And go check it out over at ohmTown. So there's only a little bit on ohmTown. You'll have to follow the link and it'll take you over to Business Insider. But then you should go over to this next article. And let me do the transition real quick. Because this next article is about the fact that $1 billion finding in another courtroom is blocked. So courts block a $1 billion copyright ruling that punished ISP for its users' piracy. A federal appeals court today overturned a $1 billion piracy verdict that a jury handed down against cable internet service provider Cox Communications in 2019. Judges rejected Sony's claim that Cox profited directly from copyright infringement committed by users of Cox's cable broadcast network. It's much like that Frontier one, I think. Was it Frontier?
Yes, exactly. It was Frontier.
Yeah, where they were sitting there saying that Frontier benefits by being cavalier about its defending of intellectual property. And that the IP holders, the intellectual property rights holders, are going after Frontier Communications to identify...
Sorry, I was trying to find the Frontier litigation, but there's a lot of other litigation involving Frontiers, so never mind.
Never mind. So yeah, I mean, there's all of this litigation regarding intellectual property. But the problem is, just because an ISP allows somebody to violate copyright, they're not the defenders of the copyright. They're just the vehicle by which they're giving somebody access to the internet. They should not be policing what people do on their service. It's supposed to be unfettered access. And I think it's really freaking creepy that they know about a lot of stuff already. I mean, they know what websites you go to before anybody else does because you use their DNS. And if you use Google's DNS, then you're part of the data pool that's being mined for marketing anyways. So enjoy that.
And for AI training.
And AI training, yeah. Oh gosh. Well, they're gonna love My Little Pony Rainbow Adventure websites. So yeah, right out of the gate, there's a ruling. It goes straight into an appeals court. The appeals court actually sees the light and says no. So judges rejected Sony's claim that Cox profited directly from the copyright infringement. And I agree. I don't even know how this could have been handed down by a jury. $1 billion. There had to have been misrepresentation. It just doesn't make any sense.
Right. I feel like there's more to it.
So the
like
articles over at Ars Technica has somebody using a laptop, and they've got an old CD in their mouth and a pirate hat and an eye patch. John Brodkin. It might be John Brodkin. I don't know. No, it's a Getty image. Anyway, quote, Cox did not profit from its subscribers' acts of infringement, judges rule. And the article, again, over at arstechnica.com, says appeals court judges didn't let Cox off the hook entirely, but they vacated the damages award and ordered a new damages trial, which will presumably result in a significantly smaller amount to be paid to Sony and other copyright holders. Universal and Warner are also plaintiffs in the case, but this, if it goes back down for another damages trial, what is stopping them
$1.
What is stopping them from appealing it again to an ever higher court? Because the Court of Appeals is going to, at that time, go, wait, we've reviewed this before. We think that there should be some damages, but we can't say what that damages are. We're going to remand it back to the lower court, or we're going to kick it up to another court. So this is like going up to a Supreme Court type of hearing. Why? Because Cox is providing internet access. They're not defending the world from illegal activity. Just like the city isn't held responsible because they allowed somebody to steal a car and use the roads. No, you go after the people who are committing the crime. That's it.
Well, I think this is interesting. The appellate judges talked about that no reasonable jury could find that Cox received a direct financial benefit from its subscribers' infringement of plaintiff's copyrights. So, I mean, they're expecting it to come back maybe with like a $1 damages, right?
I guess it's under the illegal prerequisite for vicarious liability. Yeah, it's going to drop back down, and then maybe that jury is going to get a jury instruction that says you cannot award any financial compensation if you don't find that they directly. Somebody had to have been very charismatic in that other trial, in the other jury, because the idea, if the statement was made, if the instruction was, you cannot award money unless Cox was seen as directly benefiting, somebody had to
have, the instruction had to have said something to that effect, right?
Right?
Like, I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I would love to be a person who's allowed to sit inside a jury room and just like cogitate on the process of like 12 Angry Men, that it's just, I would love to be in that room, just discuss, learning for myself the sociological forces at play there. I mean, it would be amazing. But I'm sure that they don't allow that kind of stuff ever. So in today's court, Fourth Circuit ruling, appeals court judges wrote that Sony failed as a matter of law to prove that Cox profits directly from its subscriber copyright infringement. And no, they don't. Imagine that. The ISP gets $25 for every album that is distributed illegally to 1,000 people. Come on, don't be dumb. So the article goes into greater detail, but they say at the very end of this that Cox is still liable, but for what?
Well, right. They might come out with almost no damages in the second
Yeah,
damages trial, but because they're not redoing whether Cox was responsible,
right.
they're doing how much Cox should pay.
Yeah. So they have a quote in here where the author writes underneath it, the jury had plenty of leeway to come up with a number. In other words, so the quote that they're responding to is, although the vicarious and contributory infringement claims were predicated on the same conduct and the maximum damages for each is identical, the statutory range is wide and the jury's choice within it is highly discretionary and may have been influenced by the vicarious infringement verdict. So,
So I think they're saying like they misapplied, right?
right.
Like they're confusing two things.
Just because there was vicarious infringement doesn't mean that they should get the full amount for all of the transgressions, which amounted to $1 billion, considering they may have had a number related to 150,000 per instance, and they dropped
Right. Well, that
1,000
could add up
instances.
real fast given the number of users, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, depending on what the calculation was.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but $1 billion. I mean, 1,000 instances and you're at $1 billion. Yeah. They say was a global figure for all infringements in the case. I think they just rounded up to $1 billion. Yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think this could go up higher because this has a potential impact, right, on all ISPs.
Yeah. I mean, it invalidates the safe harbor provisions for ISPs.
Exactly.
Which kind of brought me to the next thing, which was AI. And thought this was really interesting. $1 billion for some copyright infringement, but what about stuff that can't get a copyright? But maybe if it could, it apparently is going to destroy the creative industries. This article's over in ohmTown Daily, just the snippet. It's actually from, I think, TechDirt. So, generative AI, the article is titled How Allowing Copyright on AI Generated Works Could Destroy Creative Industries. And the little snippet that is provided is generative AI continues to be the hot topic in the digital world and beyond. A previous blog post noted that this has led to people finally asking the important question whether copyright is fit for the digital world. As far as AI is concerned, there are two sides to the question. The first is whether generative AI systems can be trained on copyrighted materials without the need for licensing. I don't think so. That is naturally dominated discussions because many see an opportunity to impose what is effectively a copyright tax on generative AI. The other is whether the output of generative AI systems can get a copyright. And that has already been proven to be extremely limited. Most generative AI works cannot receive a copyright.
Right, but we did see something interesting. I think it was the Grammy Awards. Now, that wasn't whether it could be copyrighted, but it could be eligible for award. I think it was Grammys.
Right. And it was eligible because if it's partially generated by AI, but substantively modified by a human, so as to appear that most of it is human manipulated, then you would basically, it would survive basically the inquiry of should this get a copyright? Well, given the current interest in generative AI, it's no surprise that there's lots of pundits out there pontificating on what it all means. And the person, Glenn Moody over at techdirt.com, put this article together, and they say they find Christopher Penn's thoughts on the subject to be consistently insightful and worth reading, unlike those of many other commentators. I love the little stab. This person is interesting, but that person is a piece of shit and doesn't deserve your...
Yeah, that's kind of like, wait a second.
Pretty neat, right? So even better, his newsletter and blog are free because, free puts food on the table. His most recent newsletter will be of particular interest to walled culture readers and has a bold statement concerning AI and copyright. I think the quote is, because there are no quote marks, but it's inset and italicized. It has almost everything of a APA, but anyway, we should unequivocally ensure machine-made content can never be protected under intellectual property laws, or else we're going to destroy the entire creative economy. It's very, very FUD.
It's a little over the top.
Yeah, the whole world is going to die. His newsletter includes a short harmonized tune generated using AI. Penn points out that it is trivially easy to automate the process of varying that tune and its harmony using AI in a way that scales to billions of harmonized tunes covering a large proportion of all possible songs. And so I understand where they're coming from with this, because I've fallen victim to this. Essentially, that little statement there in this article implies that if anybody does this, then every trivially modified tone will be copyrighted, and thus nobody could take a sample and create a subsequent work, right? Because it uses the notation.
I suppose that is true, yeah.
So it's a slippery freaking slope. But here's the deal. The only thing that can be copyrighted should be the entire embodiment. Not a little snippet, not 3 seconds of the song is... So the ideology in intellectual property, music intellectual property is... there is basically a rolling segment of audio, and if anything transgresses that rolling segment, it can be flagged as a violation of the copyright. So if you take 3 seconds out of a song and you loop it and turn it into a different song, you're still violating where you took that little snippet from. I don't agree with that. I think that it should be 51% of the song or more. If you use 51% of the song or more, then yes, you're violating the copyright, but not 3 seconds. But I used to actually play music and talk about it, and it would get flagged. I would play demos inside this stream to show people the demo, and the music in the demo would get flagged. Not the demo, the music in the demo. But the demo's freely distributable, but I would get flagged. So I understand what they're saying here. If my billion songs are now copyrighted, then every musician who composes a song from today forward has to check that their composition isn't in my catalog of a billion variations. I completely agree. That's exactly what I was saying, because I haven't read any of this. But I know all about this, and I anticipate this kind of thing. Unfortunately, I've actually fallen victim to this because I've paid for years to use commercial license. The problem was that it wasn't a synchro license that you have to clear with every single hand that was involved in the creation of that musical work. You have to get written permission to use it. And there are some songs that have 28 people. And those same 28 people bitch that they didn't make enough money in distribution. Well, yeah, because if your song is being distributed and 28 people get a piece of the action, and there's only 12 cents that's being distributed across 28 people, then yeah, you're not going to get that much money. So if an AI can make a song for me that I actually like, and I am the impetus for its creation, then I think that I should be able to use that tool to get a copyright. But again, the copyright is the entire embodiment of it, not some rolling segment of ephemera within it.
Well, so, of course, what have we seen in the copyright suits involving music, right? They've been very small portions.
And it's not even just portions. they speed up or slow down somebody else's
You're right.
creation.
You're right.
So I think
And they've
it's
had ridiculous things like having people sing in court.
yeah, play guitar and shit like that. Yeah, it's amazing. So moreover, allowing copyright in this way would result in a computing arms race with basically everybody doing everything that they possibly can. Because the copyright is already implied. The moment you create something, the embodiment is already protected. You don't have to go to the copyright office and register it. It emboldens that particular protection, but it doesn't prevent you from the protection of copyright. That embodiment is copyrighted. But I think, again, we have it wrong-headed, and the people with the money are making the rules, not the people who should be fighting for the ability to be competitive and be able to create subordinate creative works off of other people's creative works, because we all share in that inspiration. A person who created a song didn't create a song in a vacuum. They shared an experience with the world somewhere and then created this song. At some point, there has to be a limit on what is allowed to be protected, and 1 second of music or 3 seconds of music shouldn't be that threshold. It should be substantially more. So while I think that the beginning of this is FUD, it's not going to destroy the entire creative economy. I think controls can be put in place so that no, the only thing that can be copyrighted is your entire work. Or somewhere in between, but not this infinite fidelity level. So this chimes with something that they've argued before, that generative AI could help make the human-generated art more valuable. That is actually something that I say regularly, because the value of human creativity will be further enhanced if companies are unable to claim copyright in AI-generated works. I don't think that that's the reason. I think it's because people value people and not AI as much. And anybody will, or everybody at some point will come across AI work that they appreciate. And they may say, oh, it's created by a bot, I don't really care for it. But if it's created by a human, they appreciate it more and they'll pay more for it because it is human generated, showing the
Right, but if they
authenticity.
think it's human, they might pay more.
But if you say that it's human made, but it's AI, then it's fraud.
Oh, absolutely. I just mean, for instance, let's say it's unspecified, and
Right.
let's say it's allowable.
Right.
If it's a bot, but they like the sound of it, they're going to go, this is great. But the second they find out it was a bot, they're going to go, well, this isn't any good.
Yeah, I don't want it. Yeah. I mean, but it should be a person's choice. And a person who is artistic, but not skilled in art, they know what they like and they can use syntax to create something. But it's a tool. It's just like a camera body. The camera body is a tool, and the person operating the camera is the one that creates the work of art. AI is a tool, and the person who is telling it and directing it and then manipulating it in post, or combining multiples of the iterations of the, let's say, mid-journey outputted creations, they're the artist. The tool, though, is essentially AI. Yeah. So, I mean, I buy into this, but I buy into it to a point. I think it's dangerous to just allow, in our current iteration of copyright law, infinite range in what can't be sampled, making it illegal to create a subordinate work. We're supposed to be stimulating creativity and creating competition, making all of society better in the process. But all of our laws are punitive. It doesn't really enable anything. All right, enough for that. Let's keep on going. We have, did I throw that? Yeah, okay. So we've got one more article and then we'll call it a night. This is the tiniest apartment in Manhattan with no bedroom for $1,200 a month. The little snippet says the internet has been left in an uproar. Manhattan's tiniest apartment was put up for rent for $1,200 a month. Let's take a look at it. It's over at newsweek.com. Melissa Fleur Afshar is the author. And they say, how is this legal? One viewer commented in what amounts to a video, I guess, about a micro apartment. This has to be the tiniest apartment in Manhattan. Labak shared in a post. Audiences were given full tour of the narrow one bed that lacks a kitchen, a bathroom, or even much space to move around in. Its only saving grace is the small closet that resides in a corner near its front door. I don't know if they're actually going to have any pictures in here. Look at that. There's no pictures or anything.
Well, that's not good.
Huh. Hold on. I don't know.
Let me see if I can locate them.
Yeah, okay. A paned window leads out to a fire escape, a typical fixture of many New York apartments. Labak demonstrated that he can almost touch both sides of the minuscule apartment. There are no pictures on this post, huh?
There are not.
So, since it's been shared to the social media platform, oh, it's on Instagram. To date, more than 6.5 million Instagrammers have viewed the post. The comments section can prove colorful as Labak expected, to say the least. $500 would already be overpriced. Who would pay $1,200 for half a room? Let me see.
Well, we did see even more ridiculous rent arrangements, right? Where we saw like a balcony or
oh, so this
stairwell.
is it right here.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. There's no bathroom,
I mean, it
no
almost
kitchen.
looks like a hallway.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like a hallway to a fire escape. That's basically what it is, too. But
like,
it has
would
a
it
sprinkler
even
system.
fit a bed in the hall?
No. Yeah, all the way at the end. Yeah, like a single. The bathroom is actually in the hallway. You have to go all the way down. This is kind of like the one that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The shared bathroom. And there's the shower. So yeah, that person's bathroom is way over here in the hallway. Wow.
It's time to live somewhere else.
Yeah, I'd be done with that. There's no way that I would want to live in that city if that's where I was going to end up. And $1,200 is a lot of money. But I guess...
Well, that's exactly it, right? You can't pay that if you're like a minimum wage worker.
Yep. That's insane. All right. Well, there wasn't much to this article, but honestly, there is a link that will connect you. It's almost like a little... what is it? What do they call those? Russian nesting doll kind of a thing. Follow the link from the show notes over to ohmTown. Click on visit the source. You'll get taken to Newsweek. Scroll down. Click on shared to the social media platform, which is going to link you to Instagram. And that's where you'll find the video because it's not embedded in the article. But there you have it. Okay, folks, that's it for today. We get back into our party bus and drive all the way back down Main Street. And then there's the front page, but I'm not going to click on anything because I've been spooked too many times by the risky click of the front page while I'm streaming. So, oh, we can do it. Okay, well, let's see. Oh, God. No, just kidding.
Okay, what did I miss?
Yeah. So, one of our shows wanted, and the other show is Technology Today. Although we're the filter is throwing things into both of them because they are relevant to both shows. One is a deeper dive into the tech, and one is from the context of the gadgetry therein, not the tech. So that's it for today. I am Merwatt. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the sentient AI that actually kept me out of trouble tonight. So thank you very much.
I try. Good night, ohmTown citizens. We will see you tomorrow at approximately 8 p.m. Eastern for another episode of ohmTown Daily.
Good night, everybody.